think works so well about this movie is that setup. You know, we're following the descendants of these evil Disney characters. It's so cool to kind of have this twist on their stories. It's Kristen, and today we are ranking all 3 Disney Descendants movies from worst to best. Descendants is a musical fantasy adventure film directed and choreographed by Kenny Ortega and starring Dove Cameron as Mal, Sophia Carson as Evie, the late Cameron Boyce as Carlos, and Boo Boo Stewart as Jay. The series follows the kids of some of Disney's greatest villains, Maleficent, Jafar, Cruella de Vil, and the Evil Queen, as they get a second chance to live their own happily ever afters. Not only are there 3 Disney Channel original movies, but there's prequel books, animated spin-offs, and more. Consider subscribing if you like my videos, and drop down in the comments and let me know how you would rank the Descendants movies. I can't wait to hear what you guys would do. Also, really quick side note, I am not sponsored or anything, but I did want to share that I am obsessed with the Descendants 3 nail polish collection from Live Love Polish. I actually got the color Mal while I was at VidCon, and what's really cool about this polish is that it's color changing! I just wanted to show you guys really quick. They also have colors for like Evie and Uma, but basically it looks like this, like a light purple with some sparkles, and then you make it cold and you can see my nail polish changed color. Isn't that really cool? I'm obsessed with it, and I just thought it was something fun to share. Now, onto the actual rankings. So for the number 3 spot, I had to go with the second film, Descendants 2. We follow Mal as she struggles with her new life in the spotlight as King Ben's girlfriend. You know, she's really dealing with a lot of insecurities and a fear that Ben doesn't really even know her and that she is kind of losing herself. She ends up leaving her life in Auradon to go back to the Isle of the Lost, and then Ben and the other villain kids, the VKs, sneak back to the Isle to go get her, but they end up getting caught up in this drama with Ursula's daughter, Uma, played by China Anne McClain. First of all, I really like that this film has a focus on kind of like female friendships and female empowerment. Very often in this movie, the girls are the ones that have to go save the guys. They tackle a lot of deeper issues like being yourself and kind of figuring out what that really means. And I do think that the music in this film was a lot of fun. I especially loved Uma's songs. I think they kind of added a nice hip-hop flair to the soundtrack. I will say though that one of the things I didn't really enjoy about this film was the kind of battle between Uma and Mal. I felt like there was something missing there. You know, we didn't really get the big bad story. It just felt like it was a bit anticlimactic. And then something that I've kind of noticed across all 3 films is that at times it does feel really low budget. I feel like a lot of that comes into play when they're supposed to be in bigger locations, where it just feels like it's a tiny set that they're trying to make look big, and I think that, you know, maybe they saved money in that way, but I think you can really tell that just it doesn't really quite look as grand or fantastical or magical as it could. Now, getting to the second spot, I did go back and forth a lot over which movie to put here, but then I noticed that I did have a little bit more critiques for the third movie than I did the first one, so my second spot I had to go with Descendants 3. The original VKs visit the Isle of the Lost to find 4 new villain kids to come to Auradon, but when Hades attempts to escape the barrier and Sleeping Beauty's daughter Audrey steals the queen's crown and Maleficent's scepter from the museum, Mal, as the future queen, thinks the best way to protect Auradon is to close the barrier completely. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this movie is that we did finally get to see them dive a bit more into Mal and Uma's relationship and kind of their journey from enemies to frenemies to friends. It was also really cool to see that Mal's parents are Maleficent, played by Kristen, and Hades, played by Cheyenne Jackson, which first of all is just such a Broadway family, but also is just kind of like really fun and weird to see like these 2 completely different Disney villains coming together and like having Mal. I also really enjoyed getting to see, you know, a typically good character like Audrey, who's, you know, Sleeping Beauty's daughter, and they have all that drama with Maleficent, kind of turn and have more of a darker role in this film. We've all been following Sarah Jeffrey, who plays Audrey, as she's been in Charmed, and it was kind of cool to see a little bit of a connection there where there's this idea of everybody has the capacity for good or evil, whether you are a witch or a demon or from Auradon or the Isle of the Lost. And even though this is the last movie in the Descendants franchise, I feel like the way that they ended it, kind of opening up that barrier, giving the other VKs opportunities to kind of have a chance at a normal life now, really opens up the story to continue even further. I personally would love to see more in maybe like a TV spin-off or something, because there's just all this opportunity to dive into all of the other VKs. I also really enjoyed the music in this. Some of it kind of gave me a little bit more of like a Broadway vibe, and I think the fashion might be one of the strongest elements out of all three movies. I will say though that while I think the story in general was a lot stronger than in the past films, I think that they really missed the mark in introducing these new VKs into the picture. It felt like they didn't really have a purpose. They weren't really a big part of this film, so they just kind of added them and didn't do much with them. I think they could have had a much bigger role and honestly then led to a spin-off. I also think with this film there was something about the editing that, especially in certain songs, just felt like too much to me. I think I particularly noticed it in Audrey's song Queen of Mean, where the editing just felt like overwhelming. There was too many close-up, far away shots. I was just like, oh, okay. There was just something about it, and I think it had to do with the editing, that even though she sounded really good, the performance and just the visuals felt really cheesy. And now for the number one spot, I went with the first movie, Descendants. I mean, this is a classic. This is the one that really sets up the entire story. After Belle and the Beast get married, they create a new nation called United States of Auradon, and they banish all of the evil villains to the Isle of the Lost, where they put up this barrier to stop all of their magic, to keep everyone safe. Years later, their son Ben, who's the future king, makes this big decision to allow 4 kids from the Isle of the Lost to come to Auradon and give them a chance to really create their own futures. Originally, the VKs are coming up with all these tricks and schemes going off of instructions from their evil parents. But eventually Mal and Ben fall in love, and the VKs realize that they really want to be good. And what I think works so well about this movie is that setup. We're following the descendants of these evil Disney characters. It's so cool to kind of have this twist on their stories. They also introduced some really fun actors as the original villains, like Kristen as Maleficent and Kathy Najimy as the Evil Queen. Unfortunately, they didn't really do much with them after this movie. We get to see these fun references to past Disney movies in this new light, and I thought the casting was really diverse and interesting. It's just a lot of fun to see these characters reimagined in this new way. So that is my ranking. I would love to hear how you guys would rank the Descendants movies, so make sure to leave a comment down below, and also pop on over here and vote on your favorite VK. I'd love to hear who your favorite character was. I would say mine is probably Evie, just because she was so fun and fashionable. I think she really grew as a character. And if you like this video, you can check out more of my rankings right over here. Thanks so much for watching. See ya.